What's up, you guys? It's Lo, Beauty Demon, and we are back to talk about internet BS. Today we're actually going to be talking about Alxs James's responses to Gabbie Hanna, because they're actually pretty entertaining. But before we get into it, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get a notification every time I post. And before I get into this, please don't send anybody that I'm talking about any hate, negativity, nothing like that. This is just based on what I am seeing play out on the internet. This is not facts, just my opinions. So if you have something to say about what we're talking about, just shoot it in the comments down below. That's what they are there for. So let's get into it. Alxs James has a very long history with Gabbie Hanna. They have known each other since Vine days. In fact, it seems like, unfortunately, we have Alxs James partially to thank for Gabbie Hanna's fame, popularity, I don't know what to call it. But let me tell you, I kind of am living for Alxs James, that southern drawl that he's got, and he is so funny and quirky, and I actually decided that I'm just kind of gonna do a deep dive into his channel and watch all of his stuff because it was really entertaining. In the past, he has made a few videos addressing Gabbie over things that she has said or stated or alleged. With her most recent series, he has come out with at least 2 parts of his series of a response. He does not know how many parts he's going to have of the series, but we've gotten at least 2. So I wanted to talk about those and kind of talk a little bit about things that he said in previous videos addressing Gabbie as well. Mostly just because I did not have a lot of context for some of the stuff that he was talking about and what Gabbie has alleged, so I did go back and watch some of his older things just to get like more of a frame of reference. And Alxs just lays it all out. Gabbie has, there's 2 big things that he took out of this, which is 1, Gabbie said that Alxs physically harmed her when they lived together, and 2, she can't understand if Jessie can forgive Alxs, why can't Jessie forgive Gabbie? But Alxs makes a very good point that this series is not for personal healing like Gabbie claims. This series is to clear her name. It's not to make things right with the people that she's hurt. It's for the public and to sway public opinion in her favor. So at some point, Alxs had made a previous timeline and he got a date wrong, and Gabbie used that, and her fan base used that piece of evidence to say that Alxs was manipulating an entire situation. But in many instances, Gabbie will say, how can you expect me to remember everything that happened like 5 years ago? Like, I have memory issues. Yeah, when we all get into our 30s, we do start to forget things that happened 5 years ago. If we're gonna say that Alxs forgetting or mixing up one date is full-on manipulation, then the same is gonna go for Gabbie as well. I mean, how is this not the same? Then he calls out her BuzzFeed article, which, even though it was a few months ago, it's still something that we continuously go back to because it essentially laid the blueprint for how Gabbie was gonna be acting over the next few months. He says, you know, it's like a piece that her management team would have reached out to BuzzFeed to actually, you know, get. It's a profile, if you will. Now, regardless if she reached out to them or they reached out to her, she made the choice to answer all of the questions and talk about all the situations that they brought up. She didn't have to do that. She didn't have to comment on any of that. And then you can't really go and talk a bunch of shit in a BuzzFeed article and then say, why is everybody mad at me? I think, wasn't that the actual title of the article? He includes this really funny little section about the article. I'm just going to include the clip here because it had me laughing so hard I actually had to show my husband.
But one thing I do want to say about that article is this picture with your quote, everyone made fun of Freddie Mercury too. So what we're not gonna do is we're not gonna do Freddie like that. Not Mr. Mercury. But I'm laughing because this reminds me of that episode of Bob's Burgers. Let me actually find this, hold on. Okay, it's season 3, episode 11, Nude Beach.
Man, well, people don't know about rock. It's a very physical experience. It's very athletic.
You're moving around a lot.
Yeah, you noticed that.
It's almost like you move around too much.
Yeah, I've gotten all kinds of comments. You move around a lot. You seem to be having a hard time.
Yeah, I could say that one.
Jumping around for no reason. Right. Your eyes are bulging weird.
Wait.
It's off-putting, this and that. But that's what they said about Queen.
Yeah.
When I saw that picture, I was like, oh my God. That literally reminds me of that guy. The health inspector that replaced Hugo. Oh, the bulging eyes! When she does that.
Why is that Gabbie? A lot of people have said, at least to Alxs and other people, this just needs to be handled off the internet. Why aren't you handling off the internet? He says, no, she brought it to the internet. She put it on display for everybody, so it's going to continue to play out on the internet. We're going to handle it on the internet. And Gabbie just goes through friends because she just uses them. She gets what she needs from them, any kind of clout, connections, whatever, and then it's on to the next. Alxs does address the haunted hotel briefly, but he had a whole video about it, so he really didn't go that much into it. But he said, you know, I was just trying to match her energy, the energy she was giving me, and she didn't act like she was panicking when she would be posting and editing these snaps and stuff, so I really didn't think like it was real. But what really got me is he mentioned a time Gabbie pretended to be a hacker of his. I actually decided to go back and watch the video where he totally broke this down. I think it was in the video Gabbie Hanna Girl Bye video, and this is just some of the most disturbing shit I've ever heard in my whole life. So a few years previous to this phone call incident, Alxs James and Gabbie Hanna were somewhere in Miami, and he had a very big brand thing that was happening with Vine, and his account got hacked, and he started getting text messages and phone calls from this person saying they'd hacked his Vine account and they wanted all this money, and he didn't know what to do because he was literally there in Miami for a brand deal and didn't have a Vine account to post on. Well, he was able to have Gabbie help him with a 2-factor verification and get him his account back. Literally, she provided her phone number, and that was it. So it was a very scary situation, but they were able to move on. Then 3 years later, out of the blue, he gets a phone call, and this person says they're his hacker. They've been stalking him and watching him for 3 years. They've been watching him through his webcam. They have access to all of his information, all of his photos, his iCloud, his bank statements, everything. They have access to it all. And he actually has his friend recording this, and he told his boyfriend at the time, have 911 on the ready dial. Now, this person on the phone says they're going to post all of this on Twitter unless Alxs basically does what he says. And Alxs proceeds to, over the phone in front of his best friend and his at the time boyfriend, to completely humiliate and degrade himself because he was in a very dark place at that time anyway. He was struggling with a lot of things personally. So after completely humiliating and demeaning himself on the phone call with this hacker and in front of 2 people that he really cares about, that he's afraid that he's put in danger, he immediately calls Gabbie Hanna because Gabbie was there the night the hacker originally got in. The second he calls, he says, oh my God, Gabbie, the hacker, they called me, and she says, no, it was me. And he was so scared, he didn't even believe her when she first said that until she said, no, it was me. We were filming a prank video, and then we realized it kind of got a little too far. So she was filming this instance where she was pretending to be a hacker. There were other people in the room with her. She admitted she was using a voice changer. She never posted the video, but the fact that she even thought that this was funny and this was a good idea says so much about her. It's so sadistic that she would find pleasure in actually having somebody completely debase themselves in front of their loved ones and on a voice call, and she thought it was going to be a good prank video that would get a lot of views. She later at one point claimed that Alxs was mad that she didn't post the video, which Alxs says is a bold-faced lie. He was beyond pissed and upset that she did that, because what the fuck is that? Who does that to somebody that they have been acting like is their friend and do something that traumatizing to them? And if she had posted that video, all hell would have broken loose. Like, that is the most vile, like I said, sadistic shit I've ever heard. It says so much about who Gabbie Hanna is. And the fact that she got pleasure out of this shows me why she continues to antagonize people, because she gets short bursts of fleeting pleasure when she's in altercations or inflicting pain or humiliation on people. I mean, last summer she went from Trisha Paytas, Rachel Oates, Oscar Wilde, and just continued on. She just finds new people to target, and this series has probably been one big overload for her. Sure, it has been met with very big lows because she probably, I don't know, she expected a lot of backlash that she's getting. I really don't know what she was thinking. I think she thought she would get more pleasure from this series than she actually ended up getting, because in the past, past, she has gotten pleasure from humiliating people and making them degrade themselves in ways. Alxs also includes a clip from earlier this year of 2021 where Gabbie was interviewing with a therapist or a psychologist. I don't know if it was her therapist or psychologist. She says that she does not always tell her therapist the truth, or she withholds things because of that fear of rejection. So she's afraid that her therapist is actually going to tell her the truth about a situation. So she withholds certain key pieces of information to look favorable to her therapist, the person that she literally employs to make her a better person. She doesn't tell them the whole truth. What a waste of time. That poor therapist. Then Alxs actually gives 18 traits of what I interpreted to be psychopathy or psychopathy. I don't really know how you would say that, whatever. Alxs doesn't exactly say what these traits are because he didn't want to put a label or a name on it, but that is what all of that sounded like. And it reflects things that I literally just said a minute ago, and things that everybody has been saying pretty much to Gabbie Hanna for the last at least 2 years plus. So 3 things that Alxs really got from this series that he said he would be addressing is 1, she doesn't understand why Jesse is friends with Alxs and not her, so he will be addressing that. Well, in my personal opinion, I think it might be in part because we have not seen Alxs James publicly attacking Jesse over her, and he seems to have owned up to any instances where he felt like he had been in the wrong in that situation, in that friend group, if you will. He has a completely distinct, different relationship with Jesse than Gabbie does. Gabbie and all of her fans and stans are saying everybody has mental illness differently. Just because you experience something one way doesn't mean somebody else can experience the same thing, and that is totally true, totally valid. But if we are going to understand that people are different and they will experience mental illness different because people are just inherently different, then you have to understand that because people are inherently different, the relationship that one person has to somebody is going to be inherently different than the relationship they have with another, because those are 2 completely different things. And it is up to Jessie to forgive who she wants and doesn't want to forgive. That is her prerogative. She doesn't have to forgive Gabbie. She can forgive Alxs, because also, as Alxs points out later in his second video, anytime he had an interaction with Curtis, who is Jesse's, he literally asked Jesse's permission before he could even go hang out with him. It was like a kid asking their mom if they could go play. So the second thing that Alxs got from the series that Gabbie doesn't seem to understand is why she doesn't have friends anymore. And it's pretty much because you just use them up and get all the resources you can and then just move on to the next one. He even actually refers to her as leeching off of people in this part. And the third thing that Alxs got from the Gabbie Hanna series is Gabbie doesn't seem to understand why anybody in the industry doesn't want to work with her anymore. She seems to have reasoned it out that it is because of what people are saying, not because of her actions and how she treats people. And in reality, people would not have much to say about her if she wasn't such a crappy person to others. And then on my birthday, he dropped his second video in his series titled The Proof Y'all Wanted, Gabbie Hanna's Lies Detangled Part 2. This video was more specifically about creating an entire timeline for how he met Gabbie Hanna and how he really became interacting with all of the major players of this story. He makes mention of the fact that Gabbie will say these malicious things and then she will put it under the guise of she was having a mental breakdown. And now if this was the case, if this was something that she said that she did not mean and was lashing out during a breakdown, then the proper step is to retract those statements and say those do not reflect what I actually think and feel inside. But she continues to monetize these feelings. It's all still up on her channel. She continues to drag her fans into these emotional breakdowns that she's having, then lashes out at others and recruits others to continue to do the same thing. She just double and triples down on what she says, goes on various podcasts. But if you are using the shield of a mental breakdown to excuse the shitty things that you said away, then you need to apologize and retract those statements. Because on one hand, you can't say, I didn't mean that, I was having a mental breakdown, but then on the other hand, double down on the shitty things you said here. It just shows there is zero remorse. Gabbie Hanna does not know how to feel it. She is incapable of feeling remorse. I firmly believe that. I don't think she knows what that emotion is. And the fact that Alxs has to make an entire timeline of his life going back all the way to 2013, 2014, this is like shit from 6-7 years ago, all because of Gabbie. So his whole timeline is about his interactions with Gabbie, Jessie Smiles, and Curtis Lepore, Jessie's. This fully explains how Jessie could forgive Alxs over forgiving Gabbie. They had an existing relationship. He knew both of them kind of before it all like really blew up and like the article came out and everything. And he gives a more complete rundown of timeline and all that. So I would suggest watching that because I don't want to recap the entire timeline. It's just too much. But through their friendship, like I said, Alxs would repeatedly reach out to Jessie and essentially ask for her permission to work with Curtis or do a Vine video or anything like that. He wanted to make sure that his friend Jessie was comfortable with whatever he was doing. And now he says in hindsight, he feels very remorseful about putting her in that situation. He said he remained neutral in a situation that he should not have remained neutral in. And at this point, he has decided to retract any kind of support or anything from Curtis because he knows he was in the wrong. And that right there should be enough of a reason to show Gabbie why Alxs can be forgiven over her. He has actually expressed remorse. They have had private conversations, and even throughout the majority of their friendship, he was always very aware of whatever her feelings might be. Something you never took into consideration. Alxs even lays out several times after the conviction, after articles came out, after everybody knew, that Gabbie would continuously try to engage with Curtis and try to hang out with him and whatnot. So Alxs plays a little clip from the Half Baked podcast. I did not know Gabbie went on that. I haven't seen anything about the Half Baked podcast in a while, but she did say it's not fair that people are calling her a apologist because she talked to Curtis and wanted to hear his side of the story before he was ever convicted. And Alxs lays out that that is a bold-faced lie. She reached out to Curtis 3 years after he had already been convicted and everything. And even at an event where it was like an early Vine days, it had been 2 months after he had pled guilty. He does also say Curtis did record that FaceTime call with Gabbie where Gabbie did say she supported him and never believed Jessie. Now Curtis did record that FaceTime call and he was going to use it to blackmail Gabbie, but Gabbie in turn blackmailed him and said, look, it's not legal for you to record me in the state of California. This is a 2-party state. So she like flipped the script and blackmailed her blackmailer. And then he just kind of ends it there. He just talked about his merch and everything like that. I don't really know anything about that. Maybe after I do more of a deep dive, I will want to be part of his merch club or whatever. I don't know. But he's going to have more videos come out. I am going to be watching those. He's on no timeline, so they could come out whenever. I do have notifications turned on because I want to know the next time he posts a video. I just had to say though, the stalker situation is just the most disturbing thing to me. I can't believe somebody would think that is a good idea. Anyway, you guys, that is it for today's video. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. And if you have not already, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you guys next time. Laters. Bye.